Here we are. Good afternoon, everybody. Welcome to Let's Talk About Networking. This is the reboot of the Friday Let's Talk About Networking for Lancashire. So happy Friday afternoon, everyone. I quite like these Friday afternoon sessions, Richard. It's more of a relaxed affair than any others of these that I do.
Yeah, it's not going to be like news night, is it? You're not going to.
No, I'm not going to Paxman you. Yeah. So welcome everybody. I am joined by a good friend, businessman, Richard Webster, who is a part of the BNI network, president of the Beacon chapter, but more importantly, a fantastic copywriter. Richard, good afternoon. How are you?
Good afternoon. I'm very well, thank you. Effervescent is the word.
Effervescent. See, this is one of the reasons why I particularly wanted to talk to you on a LinkedIn Facebook Live, because I can broaden my vocabulary within the next 25 minutes, I find. So here's a question.
I'll try not to broaden it with swear words for you.
No watershed on the internet, Richard. So what is your favourite word? Do you have a favourite word? Do you have a favourite word?
I'll come back to you on that. Let me pop that one. There's just so many to choose from. Where's my dictionary? I'm sure there'll be one.
So this is for people who've maybe not watched one of these before. I've done these since the start of lockdown 2020, which is a few years ago now, since we've been in lockdown. And we talk with a member of or a business person from BNI, and just to get a little bit more about their history, and then to talk about kind of the benefits of being part of an organisation such as BNI. Selflessly promoting, really. So, Richard, I suppose my first question to you is: tell us about your history. Were you always born to be be in your business line?
Yeah, that's a good way of saying it. I wish I'd thought of that phrase. Can I use that? Liam, I was born to be a writer. No, I have always loved writing. When I was a kid, I always used to like just writing things like little sketches and stuff like that. In fact, I think one of my earliest career ambitions was to be a writer for the Fast Show, if you remember that.
Love that. Yeah.
If anybody ever wants to resurrect that, then I have volunteered quite happily. You don't even have to pay me. I'd love to do that. So yeah, I've just always loved writing. It's always been. I think I always had this kind of romantic notion of being that guy sitting there by the beach on a laptop, just tapping away. Never managed that. I made it to a caravan in Cornwall once, but that was it. Got to start somewhere.
Yeah, well, yeah, I'm a beautiful part of the world. Beautiful part of the. But so talk to us about kind of how you came to this business idea. Then, in terms of, I know you've been in previous roles before, but talk to us about them previous roles and what they taught you to then start this business up.
Yeah, well, I mean, like I say, I always wanted to be a writer. So naturally, I went into engineering because why wouldn't you? It's a natural career move.
Natural.
Yeah, I mean, I always had an interest in engineering, and I suppose at the time it might have felt like a proper job. I don't know.
No,
I don't mean any insult to any other writers out there, but I don't know. So I went that way. Worked in manufacturing. Well, got a degree in engineering. Worked in manufacturing for 15 years. But all the time I was working in manufacturing, I always kind of gravitated to the marketing side. So I'd always enjoy doing sales emails for the sales team, or putting presentations together, or marketing brochures, that kind of thing. So I suppose it was always there, trying to get out. And then I worked in recruitment, in engineering recruitment, for 8 years, and I suppose that's where I really got the art of copywriting, or sort of first came across it. Really, there's a guy called Mitch Sullivan who's a phenomenal guy, and he teaches recruiters how to write proper job adverts. And I've been following him on LinkedIn for a bit and liking what he was saying. I'm like, actually, yeah, I kind of get it. So I got in touch with him, and he taught me the introduction, I suppose, to copywriting. The idea being that, you know, a job advert, the key word is advert. It has to advertise it, and you've got to think about what the candidate might actually want from the job, and, you know, where they are in life, what their hopes and aspirations are, and angle it around to how this job's going to give it them, and then also add a bit of creativity to it, because 99% of job adverts out there are a sort of copied and pasted version of the job spec. And a job spec isn't an advert, it's just a list of things that the company wants. So yeah, doing more creative adverts, it started making a big difference. I was like, well, this actually works. So I turned into a copywriting hound, I suppose. I just soaked up everything I could find out about it, reading books all the time, following people, learning more about it. And I was like, all the little bits of skills that I picked up over the years, I suppose it all kind of came together in that. And I was like, actually, this is kind of what I want to do.
Yeah.
And so it, you know, all the stuff I'd done before certainly wasn't wasted. You know, given me a great insight into businesses and, you know, writing business to business stuff, which is what I do now. You know, it's given me something to talk about, which is half the battle when you're writing something. So yeah, the planets aligned a couple of years ago, and there's just a right opportunity for me to have a go at this. And I thought, right, I need a laptop, an internet connection, and a phone, and I can have a go at this. So I handed in my notice, and which was a sad day because I loved working at that company. It was a cracking business. But yeah, I thought this is what I really want to do, and well, I'll give it 3 months and see what happens. And a couple of years later, still going strong. So yeah, can't complain.
Do you still write for fun as well? You know, you say you like writing sketches, or is it a bit like a busman's holiday now?
I kind of channel it into my daily writing. You know, when I'm writing for businesses, that I try and build some fun into that. Because you know, I think, you know, some topics are naturally quite dry, and there isn't a lot of scope to introduce a lot of creativity into it. I was writing a topic this week about tax legislation. It's like there's not a lot of scope that, you know, fun and engagement is quite factual. But wherever I can, I think it's nice to inject a light-hearted element to it. I think it makes it more engaging and more interesting. And
you do have that side to you, don't you? You do have that that quirkiness to your writing, and use quite a lot of analogies in when I see you speak. And you know, there's so many different types of copywriters. Where does that come from then? Where does that lightheartedness, and I would call it quirkiness, where do you think that comes from? Is that from your upbringing, from parents? Are they like that, or what you've read?
Not at all. No, they're I mean, my mum and dad both have well, my dad's passed away now, but you know, they both had a cracking sense of humour, and there's always a lot of laughs around the house. But I suppose, you know, I think about when I was younger, the TV show, you know, I mentioned the Fast Show, you know, like Big Reeves. Yeah, brilliant. You know, talk about surreal and quirky, that hit the spot. Terry Pratchett, big fan of Terry Pratchett's. You know, all the Discworld novels of Pride of Place on my bookshelf, and I love that idea of taking a kind of ordinary everyday situation and putting a twist on it, making it real. And Pratchett did that really with that kind of traditional sort of fantasy fiction world, but then introducing like quirky characters into it and giving them all different personalities, which I really liked. And yeah, I suppose Ben Elton was a big influence, you know, with the stuff that he did, like The Young Ones and Blackadder and all those classics. Fawlty Towers, Monty Python, of course, is one of
I was going to say they have to be a key influence in, from what I can tell from your sense of humour, that there is, as there is with all modern comics, really, Monty Python running throughout. Brilliant.
Well, then I always like Bill Hicks as well. You know, good to be silly. And then Bill Hicks had a very, he could punch you in the face and make you laugh kind of thing. Hit you with something very heavy, but in a more light-hearted way. And I've always liked people who have something to say. Whether I agree with them or not is another matter. But I've always liked people that have something to say and aren't afraid to say it. And I've never really developed that though.
I don't know that you got some very valid opinions. There's a LinkedIn user. Your name doesn't come up, but you're amazing, Richard. Best in the business.
Oh, thank you.
Thanks, LinkedIn user, and Ben Duckworth, the legend. I'm going to say talking about you for sure, Ben. I feel there. So, okay, so let's. Couple of years back, then you started out in business, and you looked at ways of not only providing better marketing to the businesses that you want to have as customers, but also better market yourself. And at some stage, you have probably been invited down to a networking meeting. Talk to us about then what that situation looked like. How did you come to kind of be part of a networking organization?
Yeah, I mean, my experience of networking up until then was a bit crappy, to be honest. For want of a better word. But I've been to events where it's like it's in a pub and there's no real structure to it. There's no agenda or anything. It's just business people all getting together, doing business things and having a business beer and talking about business. And, welcoming really. Sort of wandered in and it's like, hey, you all right? And people, I don't know, it was all quite niche and, people had their own little groups. So, I've never really been a big fan of business. Plus, I'm not the most confident person, despite my cunning disguise of appearing confident. I'm really not. And the concept, the idea of walking into a room full of strangers just filled me with dread. So I've never really considered networking as an option. Really, never even thought about it. But then when I started, a friend of mine who runs her own business, she mentioned a mutual friend. She just said, she's involved with some networking group. Why don't you have a chat with her? And I thought about it for a bit. And I thought, well, what can I lose? So I got in touch with her, and it turned out she was in a BNI chapter, and so she invited me down, and it genuinely blew me away just how friendly and welcoming and interested people were. Walking into that, and it was a big chapter. So, walking into a big room full of people, not knowing anything, only having been in business a few months on my own, I was like, okay, what do I do here? But, people were straight away talking to me. It's like, oh, what do you do? And, oh, let me introduce you to this person, and having a chat with them. And it was like, well, I feel like I'm part of this, and I've only been here 10 minutes. This is great. So, that kind of set me down the route. And then obviously I found a chapter closer to me, which was Beacon. And the rest is history, as they say.
Well, the rest is history, yeah. And so you're kind of a couple of years in now. How much does it form or take? How big a part of it is it of your marketing plan then? Networking and relationships.
It's pretty much all of it. I don't do any other marketing as a rule. I mean, part of what I do is I provide a service for customers, writing content for them that goes out onto social media and onto their websites in the form of blogs and what have you. But if you look at my website and my LinkedIn profile, I just don't put anything out there. I don't have time to do it. I memean, my business development is my BNI meeting and going visiting other chapters, subbing at other chapters and building relationships with other people, and that's what's worked. I don't do any other business development.
Interesting. Looking back, what would you say to younger Richard about the things that you would like to have done more of in your networking early on, or do you think you got it pretty much about right, or did you jump in with both feet, or were you a little bit tentative in terms of maybe getting to know people through one-to-ones? Did you think you got it spot on? What's your advice for a new networker?
Yeah, just get to know people, get to know the people that you're around. Do the one-to-ones, and then do the one-to-ones again, and then do them all again, because you only ever dig a little bit into what people are all about. But each meeting, each time you have an hour with them, you'll learn a bit more and you get a deeper insight into what they do. So I think, yeah, it's all about the one-to-ones. It's all about getting to know those people in the room and getting them to understand what you do. It just works. If you do that, it works.
There'll be people watching this though, whether it's live or on playback, thinking, I'm not quite sure it's for me. It seems a little bit, I've got to meet with people and all that. And let's look, because we're kind of in the Zoom era. We've been here for 15 months. How are you finding then the online element of relationship building and networking?
It is harder than doing it face-to-face, for definite. I think you have to put more effort into it, because when you meet face-to-face in a room, you can mingle around, you can do a little butterfly, you can chat with people, and it's a lot easier just to have little conversations. Whereas doing it on Zoom, yes, we do breakout rooms, and yes, you can talk to people in those rooms, but it's still not quite the same as just a face-to-face, because at least when you're talking face-to-face, you don't have to pause and wait for someone to finish. What I mean? The conversation flows a bit more. But it is quite possible. We have the meeting, but then you've got to back it up by doing more one-to-ones, and even if it's just a 10-minute phone call, just say, "Hey, how you doing? What are you?" And building those relationships, because it's a lot easier, I think, in the Zoom era to fall off people's radars.
Yeah, definitely. It's out of sight, out of mind has never been more prevalent, has it? You might only see them for an hour a week. Let's move on then to the copy surgery. What does an ideal client look like then to you? What you think? Actually, I'm sure you can work with anybody. I get that, but you get that job sat on your desk and you go, "This is absolutely perfect for me." What does that look like?
Yeah, it's not so much the job as the person and the company. This is what I've found.
Okay.
But copywriters are all different. We're all different. We've all got different personalities, different characters, different styles, and I suppose different niches as well. The clients that I work best with are the ones that also kind of share a sort of quirkiness. They have a sense of humor. They're happy to try new things. They tend to be smaller businesses. They haven't got their own marketing team. Excuse me. And that's really where I love working, particularly with solopreneurs as well, because it is so difficult doing it all yourself, and no one's got all the answers. And I can take some of that pressure off them and just say, "Look, let me deal with that." And let's have a chat once a week about the sort of topics that you want to cover, and then leave it with me, and I'll just I'll do it for you. Yeah. Do it for you in the background. So yeah, the actual jobs. I mean, I'll write anything. I've often said, if you pay me, I'll write a note for your milkman. I don't I'm a literary prostitute. Not to be confused with a literal prostitute, which is a very different job altogether.
Completely, very different in my mind. Very different.
Yeah. We'll see how the month goes, though,
Well, we've got a long way to go. We're only on the 11th, so. What is next for the copy surgery? What's next? Because I know that you get involved in kind of social media elements of people's marketing as well. Have you got any more plans as well as that to do anything else? What's next?
Well, I'm going to give you a really boring answer, which is just more of the same. There's two halves to my business. One is the copywriting half, which is things like the text for websites, or it's sales email sequences, or it's landing pages, or it's stuff where it's more about directly influencing somebody to take an action. The content side wasn't necessarily something that I planned on ever doing, but it came about because more and more people were asking me if I could write blogs for them and social media posts, and I didn't really want to get into that because I just envisaged a whole mess of passwords and usernames and accessing people's stuff, and I didn't want to do that. But it was something that kept coming up more and more, and I thought, well, okay, let me look into this. So I launched that half of my business back end of last year, and that's great. I love doing that because that gives me a lot of variety and a lot of creativity. Do some interesting things there, and it keeps my brain going. Really, I suppose it is. I never suffer from Groundhog Day, which is great. So yeah, it's adding those clients, and again, those are the smaller businesses that they know they need to be putting stuff out. Everyone's doing stuff on LinkedIn. LinkedIn seems to be a particular area that I've fallen into. I mean, I'll post on any social media platform, but it seems to be more business to business stuff, which suits me fine. So I guess that's my niche. So it's really adding to that, really, but adding selectively to that. That's the other thing. I guess I've learned over 2 years. Like when you first start, you never say no. It's like you take everything on, and I've learned that some things I'm not so good at, or that I don't necessarily have an affinity with. So I've learned what to politely decline and what to say, yes, give me more of that.
Love that. So let's talk for the last couple of minutes then about your chapter, about Beacon, of which are a strong set of business people, specialists in their own field. But of course, there's always more business that can be done. So the key categories that sort of there's business waiting for in the room, are there three that kind of spring to mind that you think, yeah, we know we've got business waiting for these sorts of professions that we can't pass to at the minute?
Yeah, I mean, we have a number of key seats, I suppose, across the different specialist teams within the chapter. I mean, my specialist team is the marketing chapter, where me really marketing team of one. So I work really well with marketing agencies, website designers, because website designers I found tend not to enjoy writing the content or the copy for the website. Great at designing them, but they tend to either push back to the client and say, look, you give me the copy, or I can write the copy for the web designer in that respect. But so yeah, web designers, marketing agency, marketing consultant, videographers, graphic designer, in the marketing world, that's all of those seats would be great if we could, if people would be interested in getting together on that. I know the legal and finance team would love to have an accountancy firm in there. I know estate agent is something that's another one that's always coming up. Legal as well, an HR consultant would be great. And then on the trades team, construction, builders, architects. We've got plenty to go out there. So yeah,
plenty of work waiting for him. Brilliant.
Yeah, and that's the thing. Every week we're putting work outside of the chapter to other people. So keep it inside.
Absolutely right. Well, what's the last question? What's the rest of the day bringing you today?
It's bringing me some writing. Some researching. I've got some research this afternoon. So research with a brew. Talking digestive. That's the copywriter.
What is that right?
Yes.
I suppose last question. What's your favourite biscuit?
Well, it's milk chocolate digestive. There's just nothing. Yeah. I'll fight anyone to the death for any other answer to
that. You must never have tried orange creams. Say again.
Well, yeah. I mean, if you mention Jaffa cakes, I'm going to reach through the microphone and and strangle you.
Well, I thank you for your time. I genuinely appreciate it, buddy. Always good to catch up and hear a bit more about your business. What I would say to anybody watching this, if you think, actually, you know what, I do want to build my business. I'm looking for more incoming referrals. I'm looking for a pleasant way to build my business rather than cold calling or putting stuff on social media, which sometimes can be up and down in the fruit that it bears. Then put your name in the comments below, whether it's LinkedIn, Facebook, we're on YouTube, we're all over the shop with it. And one of us will be in touch. Mark Frodsham, who I think that must be, Mark, you must be meaning Richard about God of Networking. But put your name in the chat. We will be in touch and we'll just get you invited down to a group that suits you, that we know we've got business waiting for you. So have a wonderful day, everybody. Thank you again, Richard. And we're going to play you an interesting video so that you can get to know a little bit more about what we do within BNI. And that's it. Have a great week, Richard. Weekend.
Thank you. See you later, mate.
I can't tell everyone I'm about to close down. Who gives money to a company that's about to close down? Are you mad? One of my clients was a big client that gave me about £180,000 worth of business. The new manager came in and completely stopped the service that we were part of. I needed to find basically £120,000 in 6 weeks. It really sort of hit home. What am I going to do? Even when I stood up, I wasn't going to say anything. And then I just did.
Suzanne had been a member of BNI for maybe a couple of months.
She stood up in a meeting.
I've got 2 weeks left of trading.
Everything might go down the tubes.
I burst into tears, ran out of the room after the meeting when I'd composed myself and went back in. Everyone was amazing. They were coming up to me saying, tell me about it, what's happening, which was really powerful.
Outside of BNI, if you put out there that you're struggling, your client base actually walks away. They don't want brand loyalty to someone that they don't think is going to be there in a few weeks' time.
We all felt for her, and I don't think there was anybody in the room that didn't go home afterwards, go through their entire address book and think, who needs a blind? Who needs some wallpaper? Who needs something?
So the following week, suddenly, I got emails from everybody introducing me to people, asking how it was and what they could do to help me. David in particular introduced me to an estate agent.
I just tried to help her, really. Put her in touch with a couple of bigger customers that we had, who we knew used interior designers.
He gave us a show flat to do almost straight away. To be honest, I wouldn't have got that work on my own. So if you sent an email, you try and do a follow-up call, you don't even get to speak to the person. From the meeting where I got emotional to the show flat and the first pieces of work coming through, it was probably around 2 to 3 weeks. My aim for this year was to hit 400k, and I think I've already done it. Something that I thought was going to take a few years to get to. I now have a team working with me, a larger team than I have before, and it's lovely to have the support. I know I could go to any one of those members. How often do you follow up after you've done a quote? You know, how do you deal with a staff member if this happens? And that's really reassuring in business, because it's quite a lonely place.
When business goes badly, it really knocks the stuffing out of you. And part of the give as gain philosophy is that we can all pull together.
You're a team of people whose job is to support each other.
You know, it feels like you're just socialising, but the work that gets passed because you've had a one-to-one with someone, there's a big impact there. I think anybody that sort of says, do you know what, I'm not sure it's for me, I think they're really missing out massively.